You think I'll end up alone and broke?" Clara Whitman's ex-husband, Ethan Carter, sneered through the phone. She held it at arm's length, letting his words sink in, each one sharper than any blade. She dropped the phone onto the table, unbroken but hollow. 2 weeks ago, she had been the lead creative director at a major advertising agency, building campaigns that won awards and accolades. Then the layoffs came, sweeping her position away like it had never existed. Ethan had smiled, sympathy painted poorly across his face, and muttered something about fresh starts. A week later, he filed for divorce. The legal battle was surgical. Ethan's new partner, Derek Lawson, polished his teeth like a shark ready to strike. He combed through Clara's finances, claiming losses, sacrifices, a narrative so twisted it almost made her laugh. The judge, a man who had clearly seen every possible betrayal, handed over 70% of their combined assets to Ethan. The house Clara had inherited from her grandmother, gone. Savings, wiped. Her car, furniture, even the espresso machine she had spent months saving for, all claimed under his emotional distress lawsuit. That night, Ethan called, not to apologize, not even a flicker of remorse, but to gloat. "You'll die alone and penniless, Clara." He hung up before she could answer. Clara's thoughts raced to Lila Monroe, her former business partner and once best friend. The woman who had voted to cut her position, who had shared her table on Sundays for years. She stared at the phone and hung up before a word escaped. What could she even say? Almost everything was gone. Almost. She still had her plasma. The donation center was sandwiched between a pawn shop and a check-cashing store on a street that smelled of hard luck. Clara had passed it hundreds of times without a thought. Now she walked in, her heels clicking on the cracked tile, her blazer pressed but her spirit frayed. The receptionist, Emily, smiled warmly behind the counter. "First time donating?" she asked, sliding a clipboard across the desk. "We pay $40 for your first donation." Clara sank into a wobbly plastic chair, the smell of industrial cleaner stinging her senses. Around her, the room was a gallery of struggle, a father cradling a crying infant, an elderly woman shaking as she filled out forms, a man staring blankly into space. Clara began filling out the forms, a mechanical act to keep her hands busy while her mind wrestled with betrayal and loss. When Emily called her name, Clara followed her to the donation room, a sterile place that reminded her of a dentist's office nightmare. "I'm Emily," the nurse said cheerfully, perhaps too cheerfully. "We'll start with a quick health check, vitals, blood test. The whole process will take about 90 minutes. Clara nodded, gripping the armrest, thinking of everything Ethan and Lila had taken. Almost everything. But not her courage. Not her resolve. If you love real emotional stories, hit subscribe, we post one every day. Emily wrapped the blood pressure cuff around Clara Whitman's arm. "So, what brings you in today?" "Rent," Clara said simply. Emily's professional smile softened. "I understand. I've been there." She drew 3 vials of blood with precise movements. "Okay, I'll take these to the lab. Be back in 5 minutes." 5 minutes passed. Then 10. 15. Clara checked her watch, watching other donors move through the chairs, tubes connecting them like a cold assembly line, siphoning human life for profit. When Emily returned, her face had drained of color, and her hands shook slightly as she held Clara's folder. "Ma'am," she said, voice controlled but tense. "I need you to stay right here. Don't move. I have to call someone." "What? What happened?" A chill ran down Clara's spine. "Cancer. HIV. Something worse." "Nothing's wrong. Just, please wait." Emily disappeared into a back office. Clara pressed against the window and saw her speaking frantically into the phone, gesturing toward a computer screen where 2 other employees crowded around, eyes wide, then shifting nervously back to Clara. 20 minutes later, 3 men in tailored suits burst through the doors, moving with confident authority, the scent of expensive cologne trailing behind them. The leader, silver-haired, in a charcoal gray suit, probably cost more than Clara's monthly rent, locked eyes on her. He stopped a few feet away, staring with shock, disbelief, and something that almost looked like relief. After a moment, he whispered, loud enough for Clara to hear, "After all these years, we finally found you." The man introduced himself as Jonathan Reed, CEO of Vitalis Pharmaceuticals. The other two were lawyers who quickly introduced themselves and then faded into the background. They guided Clara to a private office she hadn't known existed, all dark wood and leather, a sharp contrast to the fluorescent harshness of the waiting room. "Clara Whitman," Jonathan began, settling across from her with the weight of someone about to reveal a life-altering truth. "Forgive the dramatic entrance, but what we discovered in your blood is extraordinary." "I have cancer," Clara said flatly. "No," Jonathan laughed softly, a mix of relief and wonder. "You're possibly the healthiest person we've ever seen. What you have is exactly what we've been searching for since 1993. He slid a folder across the desk. Inside were charts, genetic sequences, diagrams that looked like abstract art. 32 years ago, my son was diagnosed with Lehrman syndrome. Are you familiar?" Clara shook her head. "It's extremely rare. Most doctors never see a case. It destroyed his nervous system cell by cell. He was only 8. We tried every treatment, every experimental therapy. He passed away in 1995, 2 months before his 11th birthday." "I'm so sorry, Clara." Jonathan's voice caught. "After his passing, I dedicated my company to finding a cure. We discovered the disease stems from a missing protein the human body cannot produce, except in the rarest cases, people with a mutation in the LRNX4 gene. People like you." Clara stared. "My plasma." "Exactly," Jonathan said. "Your blood contains antibodies that could treat, and potentially cure, Lehrman syndrome. There are over 800 diagnosed children in the US alone, thousands worldwide. Thousands are dying because their bodies can't make what yours produces naturally." One of the lawyers leaned forward. "Ms. Whitman, Vitalis Pharmaceuticals wants to offer you a contract for exclusive rights to your plasma donations. 2 donations per week, full medical coverage, and $15 million in compensation." Jonathan added, $5 million upfront as a signing bonus. $10 million paid over 5 years, plus royalties from any therapies developed using your plasma. Clara's mind reeled, the weight of betrayal, loss, and hopelessness she had carried for months suddenly eclipsed by the unimaginable future before her. The numbers were staggering, almost impossible to process. That morning, Clara Whitman had been counting coins, wondering if she could make rent and groceries stretch. And now this, why her? Jonathan Reed's expression hardened. "Because you have something money can't buy. 847 families are counting on what's in your blood. And because I will not let what happened to my son happen to anyone else if I can prevent it." Clara stared at the contract. The lawyer slid it closer. The figures were real. Everything about this was real. I need to think," she said. Jonathan nodded slowly. "I understand. Take 24 hours. But understand this, every day we wait, a child is at risk." They handed her a business card and a check for $40 for her time. Clara left the plasma center, the contrast between despair and possibility so surreal she half wondered if she'd imagined the whole thing. Her phone rang as she reached her car, a beat-up 15-year-old Honda that Ethan's lawyer had deemed not worth contesting. It was Chloe Kim, her only true friend left, who'd survived her own messy divorce. "Clara. Where are you? I've been trying to reach you all morning." "I'm donating plasma," Clara said, a bitter laugh escaping. The absurdity struck her all at once. Jesus. Chloe took a breath. Listen. You need to hear this. I just ran into someone at the grocery store. Ben Carter. Ben. Ethan's brother. He had been sympathetic during the divorce, the one who had quietly told Clara that Ethan was being unreasonable. He was drunk, Chloe continued. And bragging. He said Ethan and Lila have been planning this for over a year. They wanted you out of Whitmore Media to take your shares. Lila just got promoted to CEO. They're selling the company next month for $16 million. Ethan gets half. They've been partners all along. Clara's hand tightened on her phone. He destroyed me. $8 million worth. There's more, Chloe said. Ben said Ethan deliberately dragged out the divorce to drain your legal funds, trying to make you desperate enough to accept his terms. He called it breaking you. The sun was setting, painting the parking lot a harsh red. Clara looked back at the plasma center, then at Jonathan Reed's business card in her hand, $15 million. 847 dying children. And the man who had laughed as he destroyed her. Chloe, Clara said quietly. I need your help. And you cannot tell a single soul what I'm about to do. Can you do that? Of course. Anything. Good, because you're about to get very, very rich. And Ethan is about to learn the true cost of underestimating an adequate woman. The next morning at 9, Clara signed the contract in Jonathan Reed's downtown office. The glass tower loomed over the city like a silent guardian. Her new lawyer watched as a wire transfer hit her account with digital precision. Just like that, Clara Whitman was worth $5 million, with $10 million more to come. Welcome to Vitali's Pharmaceuticals, Jonathan said, shaking her hand. We'll start comprehensive medical testing tomorrow. I want our top specialists monitoring you. I appreciate that, Mr. Reed, Clara said. But one condition. Jonathan raised his eyebrows. Name it. I want my involvement completely confidential. No press releases, no announcements. As far as anyone knows, I'm still struggling financially. May I ask why? Clara smiled, the first time in months. Let's call it a social experiment. She left the building and drove straight to Chloe's apartment, a modest two-bedroom she had lived in since her divorce. Chloe was waiting with coffee and the focused determination that made her a brilliant forensic accountant. Okay, Chloe said, spreading papers across the table. I did some digging. Go on. Lila Monroe isn't just taking your old position. She's trying to erase you. She's telling everyone at Whitmore Media you were dead weight, that your ideas were outdated. That's creative revisionism. But it gets worse. I got my hands on the firm's financials, don't ask how. That sale of Whitmore Media. Entirely dependent on the company showing growth. Lila is falsifying the books, claiming your projects as her own. The Kaufman account, the one that won 3 awards. Now she's taking credit for it. Clara's mind raced. The war had just begun. According to the financial records, the Rivertech rebranding that brought in $2 million was entirely Clara Whitman's work. She studied the documents, months of sleepless nights, ideas she had poured her heart into, all stamped with Lila Monroe's name. Lila had also fed information to Derek Lawson. Ethan's lawyer, Chloe added. Every asset Clara had tried to protect, every financial maneuver, Lila had reported. They had been partners from the very start. How long have they been together? Clara asked. 2 years, maybe more, Chloe said, pouring another cup of coffee. Clara shook her head. Here's what I don't understand. Lila has a 6-figure salary. Ethan already got most of my money. Why go through all this? Why rub it in? Chloe shrugged. Because he doesn't just want things. He wants to win. Clara nodded, recalling how Ethan played golf, not for fun, but to dominate. How he ended friendships over perceived slights. How he kept score on everything, leaving her with nothing. That was the ultimate victory for him. So, what's the plan? Chloe asked. Clara opened her bank app and showed her friend the balance. Chloe froze, coffee halfway to her lips. What? Clara smiled. Her plasma, containing a rare genetic mutation, had just earned her $15 million from Jonathan Reed's company. A windfall born from Ethan's attempt to destroy her. He left me with the most valuable blood on the planet, she said. Her goal wasn't a lawsuit. It was to dismantle their empire piece by piece, keeping the illusion that she was still defeated. Chloe's eyes widened as Clara outlined her strategy. Using her newfound capital, she would exploit every weakness. Ethan had a secret gambling habit, hemorrhaging money at poker tables. Lila was reckless with cash, desperate to complete the $16 million sale of Whitmore Media. Clara's goal was to ensure that sale never succeeded and let their own greed destroy them. She founded a shell company, Norwood Ventures, and bought Ethan's $63,000 casino debt at a discount, instantly becoming his creditor. She hired a private investigator, Marty, who documented every reckless move they made, revealing their overspending and arrogance. Marty also discovered Ethan's resentful, broke brother, Ben Carter. Clara offered him $500 a month to act as her inside source. Appealing to Ben's sense of being overlooked, she also saved his house from foreclosure. Ben agreed. Meanwhile, Clara underwent medical testing. Her plasma proved critical for developing a drug that could treat a rare disease, saving countless lives. The money was life-changing. The impact was life-saving. Armed with Ben's intel, Clara used a second shell company, Redwood Holdings, to buy Ethan's dream condo in cash, snatching it from under him. He exploded in anger, blaming Lila. Next came the Whitmore Media deal. Chloe and a hacker helped Clara secure evidence of Lila's long-term financial fraud. She anonymously tipped off the company's due diligence team, sparking an investigation that killed the $16 million sale. As the deal collapsed, Norwood Ventures publicly sued Ethan for the casino debt. Panic set in. Realizing someone was orchestrating his downfall, Ethan had no idea who was behind it. Clara continued to manipulate them, using a fake social media profile to bait Lila. Her indiscreet messages and photos went straight to Ethan, who retaliated by vandalizing Lila's Lexus at the country club, desperate for cash. Lila then embezzled $5,000 from the company. Clara sent the evidence to the board. Lila was fired and criminally charged, implicating Ethan as an accomplice. Facing complete ruin, Ethan met Clara to beg for money. She refused, delivering a final, cold reminder of his cruelty. Now you know how it feels. Months later, Clara had not only achieved justice but built a new life. The treatment derived from her plasma saved thousands of patients, including children. She earned millions, founded a charity, and finally found peace. Ben confirmed the final tally: Ethan received 5 years in prison, Lila 8. The revenge was complete.